it says that the Spirit came, looked like tongues of fire on them, and each one heard the gospel in their own language. How does that happen? All these people from different nationalities and different languages are hearing the same message, but they hear it in their own language. That's an act of God. And so rather than have a study about speaking in tongues, I want to point out to you the thing that I think is even more important than that. And that is, I want to be the kind of person who recognizes that God's doing something. It's just so easy to gloss over that and go directly to a Bible study on speaking in tongues. And you could study that, and you ought to. Go ahead and study and read up on that. But there's a bigger thing, I believe. And that is that God's at work, and we're getting to be a part of it. That's huge. The fact that God would let us in on what he's doing and let us see it is far greater than speaking in tongues. And to illustrate that, I think I told you that I was in Peru. I was teaching, and the people there, it was question and answer time, and the people there said, "Hey, do you speak?" They were asking me a question. They said, "Do you speak in tongues?" And I said, "Well, no, I don't." And they said, "Well, are you seeking to speak in tongues? Are you trying to?" And I'm like, "No, I'm trying to do the last thing Jesus said. Jesus said, go to the nations and make disciples, teach and baptize, teach them all that I've commanded you, and I'm going to be with you." So, I don't need to speak in tongues. I'm doing the last thing he said to do. Guess what? I'm doing it. And so, if I speak in tongues, this is what Paul said. If I speak in tongues, but I can't love my neighbor, what good is speaking in tongues? But if I can love my neighbor and make disciple makers, I'm doing what Jesus said. I'm not missing anything. I'm not backing up. I'm not losing out because I don't speak in tongues. I wouldn't want to. This sounds. Some people really wouldn't like this, but I wouldn't want to waste my life trying to learn to speak in tongues or praying for the gift when I got my neighbors out here that I won't go share a meal with. I won't cut their grass when their lawnmowers. So like which is greater, speaking in tongues or cutting your neighbor's grass because his lawnmower's broke? I think cutting your neighbor's grass because his lawn. How about cooking a meal for the family because somebody's sick in the family, or speaking in tongues? I think cooking a meal for a family is greater. So this is the conversation that people usually have when they start the study in Acts chapter 2, is a conversation about speaking in tongues and theological ins and outs and debates about that. I don't want us to miss what I believe to be the greater truth is, and that is that God is working. He's allowing us to be a part of it. I'm going to love my neighbor the way Jesus loves me.